I'm Mike Allen, co-founder of Axios. Welcome to day 2 at Axios House. We have the best swag on the promenade, which all of you will get. What a treat to be here. And as I was walking over here, I ask all of you to remember, sometime you're running around and trying to do something or trying to get somewhere or meet someone at Davos. But remember, at Davos, you're going to have some of the most interesting conversations about the most important issues with some of the most interesting, consequential people in the world. So just remember that, soak it in as you run through your busy day. This afternoon, we're very excited to be talking about how innovation, investment, and global competition are redefining what it takes to lead in our changing world. And before we plunge in, I just wanted to mention a very special guest who's with us today, David Rubenstein, founder of the Carlyle Group, one of the great Americans, one of the great builders, period, has been at Davos more than 20 times, and no one has done more to make American history accessible to every American. This year, the Carlyle Group, which he co-founded, is in year 40, and in the spirit of an entrepreneur and a builder, when I congratulated David, he said, the best is yet to come. So David Rubenstein, thanks for being an encourager and for all that you have built. Joining today, we're going to have Oracle Red Bull Racing CEO and team principal, Laurent Mekies, and Carlyle CEO, Harvey Schwartz. But before we get started, a quick video.
Oracle Red Bull Racing leads with speed, precision, and innovation. At Carlyle, we move the same way, investing with conviction, unlocking access to private markets, and connecting capital to what's next. That's why we're teaming up, fueled by a drive to win that's backed by data, insight, and the right timing. Together, we're driven by access, driven by innovation, driven by performance. Carlyle is proud investment management partner of Oracle Red Bull Racing.
Welcome aboard, Carlyle. We're excited to have you join the Oracle Red Bull Racing family and drive performance to the next level together.
Laurent and Harvey, welcome to Axios. Welcome to Axios House. Welcome to Axios House. Thanks for the long trip. So as we were chatting backstage, we realized, what do these two leaders have in common? And we realized that one, data and people are their inputs, but we also realized that performance, excellence, leadership, they all have in common. And you just made two very big gambles at once. You became CEO in July, right? And at the time that you became CEO, F1 in this coming season is undergoing, as I understand it from my co-founder, Roy Schwartz, and our friend Fabricio Drummond, who are here and who are both F1 experts. They say this is the biggest change in the history of sport. So tell us the two big changes you put off at once.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. We don't call them gambles. However, you're right. The sport is about to enter the biggest regulation change in history. What it means is that we are going to change both the engine and the chassis regulation at the same time. So it's like you take these 10 giants, you have 10 teams in Formula One today, 10 very, very big companies, and you take these giants and you throw them into the complete unknown. And it's very difficult that the picking order will be the same. So you will see these giants trying to catch back and to try to find their way back to the top. But that was not enough. It's also the year where Oracle Red Bull Racing has decided to do its own engine, its own power unit. It's
and pause and just explain for our non-racers the stakes there and what you're taking on with that.
Initially we are an energy drink company, and 20 years ago we started in Formula One. We bought a team, got a fair amount of success, and 20 years later we decided to say, well, let's go to the next step, making our own engine for that team, and we'll do that with the support of Ford. We will come back to the business after a very, very rich history. And what it means is that you can imagine at the back of our team in England, there was a field, and we say, let's build a factory here, bring in the dynos, bring in 700 people, and let's try to make a Formula One engine. And
700 people in your organization.
Yeah, 700 people, yeah, out of a total of 2,000. And we go and compete against people that have been doing that for 90 years, the like of Ferrari, of Mercedes, etc., etc. So that's the size of the challenge. I call it a crazy challenge. I call it, something that no board in the world will approve that. But it's billions of investments. But it's a story that identifies us. That's very much a Red Bull story. That's what Red Bull stands for. You do the impossible. You shoot for something that most people think that you should not be doing, and that's also the sort of common point along many others that we found with Harvey and with Carlyle. We don't get blurred by the short-term gain. We have that boldness of the visions. We want to go there. We know it's going to be painful. We know it's going to be a journey, but that's exactly the sort of journey that defined us.
Now, Harvey, your words about the economy are tracked around the world. This is going to be a conversation you can actually enjoy. So
that's great, Mike. I look forward to this.
Yeah. So it sounds like you and I in high school had similar athletic abilities. You got into martial arts. Now you don't miss an F1 race. Take us behind the scenes, behind the curtain, if you will, of how this partnership came to be.
Well, first of all, Mike, thanks for having us here, Axios team, and for everyone showing up in here in this fairly confined space. It's great to see everybody. It's great to be back in Davos. I just wanted to back up before I answer that, which I will. When you did the introduction, you talked about all these things that Oracle Red Bull Racing, Laurent and his team and his leadership, the focus on performance, teamwork, excellence, patience. I'm surprised you left out style, because as I sit here, I'm sure the audience is looking at me and then looking at Laurent, and he's got this wonderful accent. I have my New Jersey accent. His
shoes, our shoes.
No, I mean, this is this is the only aspect of this partnership that feels a little awkward. But all of it felt quite natural. So why did it feel quite natural, to get to your question? So our industry, which David Rubenstein created really back in 1987, after he left the administration, and as you pointed out, he's dedicated much of his life to Carlyle and to philanthropy. And in building Carlyle, who knew back in 1987 that private capital would be the dominant source of capital in the world? Since David launched Carlyle in 87, in 2000, we had the peak of basically public companies in the United States. It's systematically declined over 25 years. We have half the number of public companies today. That is not because CEOs don't want to be public. We take companies public all the time. That's because private capital has grown as an industry. It's very similar to the way, I think there's a lot of parallels in how F1 racing has evolved. If you go back, and I've spent a lot of time talking to Laurent and the team about this, about the car evolution. And even today, he's talking about the next evolution in the livery. Is that the proper word? The livery. Yeah, I should say it the way you do. It would be so much more compelling. But anyway, our industry is also going through an evolution, which is for a very, very long period of time, and as one of the largest in the world of what we do, for a very long period of time, it was really only available to institutions, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, the wealthiest in the world. Oddly, in the United States, there are tens of millions of municipal employees, teachers, that actually we help their professionals, their pension plans manage their capital. Same with retirement all around the world. It's now going the next step. And as part of that next step, we wanted a partnership that hit all those prerequisites that you mentioned before, but the demographic of we've been global. We have been in Japan longer than any private capital firm. David was truly the first to go to the Middle East in the 90s with George Bush. And the business we wanted to be connected to had to be global. It had to have all those other things, the high performance, the focus. It had to be a growing sport. There's 800 plus million fans of F1, and the trajectory of growth is extraordinary. And then the final piece, Mike, like all these partnerships, the people had to feel right. So I spent a lot of time with Laurent. I spent a lot of time with Oliver, the head of Oracle Red Bull Sports. And it was immediate, the connection in terms of, hey, we can do more than just be economic partners. We can be real partners.
And I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to let you think about it, but I'm going to ask each of you something that you've learned from the other. But in the meantime, Fabricio Drummond from The Race, who's a great friend of Axios, gave me a little cheat sheet for this interview, and he knows racing. And he was talking about this new era for F1, this technical reset for fans. Like, what should they be watching for? How will F1 be different next season?
Expect the unexpected, really. There is no way you make a change of that scale and you miraculously end up with the same picking order. So you are going to find the big guys that are not at the front anymore, and we may be very upset in that situations. You are going to find some outsiders that are suddenly leading the field, and all these giants will rush back to get their positions back. And so what you are going to see, what the fans are going to see, is that if you think the last few seasons were big when it comes to in-season development, and obviously we had a remarkable turnaround last year ever since Carlyle joined us midway through the year. So, the season turned in a dramatic way for us. If you think that was big, be ready for a scale of 3 or 4 or 5 times that in 2026, meaning what you see at the first race might be completely different to what you see at the last race. So the time to market, we call it time to race. So the time between an idea you have about how to make the car faster and your capacity to realize that idea to bring it to the track is going to have more value than the idea itself. That speed.
And the team is very well positioned. As Roy and Fabricio put it to me, you have the drivers.
We do have the drivers, yes. That's the exciting part, is that a bit like for Harvey and
At Carlyle, we like to say, they have the drivers, with emphasis on the, because I know there's other people that come through this room, but they have the drivers.
Touche.
To have his points, you know, one of the beautiful things about this sport, there are many, so you will need to stop me. But one of the beautiful things, and that's we are the most complex sport in the world, and it's all about data. We live in a virtual world. We improve the car in the virtual world. It's developing new tools, new algorithms, new AI, new whatever you like. But in the end of the day, there is a guy or a girl driving the car. And yes, we have the best driver, and we have a very exciting pairing. Max Verstappen will be joined next year by a very promising rookie, Isaac Adjar. He has done only one season in Formula One. He's 21 years old. Lucky him. And he will be pairing with Max. So we think we have certainly one of the most exciting driver pairing on the grid, and we will try to get that mix between the human and the data as right as we can get it.
Love that. Harvey, as you think about performance in your world, put aside money for a second. You probably don't very often get told that. Put aside money for a second.
Not sure I love that characterization, but let's just roll with it, Mike.
And think about people. As you think about your team, as you think about Carlyle, how do you encourage excellence, performance? Like, what kind of culture do you personally pollinate?
Well, I joined Carlyle just about 3 years ago when David asked me to be CEO. But I had a super fortunate career in finance. Prior to that, I spent 9 years at Citibank, 21 years at Goldman Sachs. And so I have a pretty incredible experience just being part of finance. And, you know, we can talk about lots of innovative things happening in the world. You can talk about artificial intelligence and how we think about data. And for those of you who don't know, we manage close to $500 billion globally around the world. Well, maybe most interesting, people who are not super familiar with our business, we're 2,500 employees. So actually, on the Carlyle team, not many more than on his team. So team size is around the same. We have close to 800,000 in our portfolio companies that we own around the world. And that makes us one of the top 10 employers in the world. And so, you know, a lot of things have changed since David formed the firm in 1987. The way capital is committed, the way you think about investment processes, the way you harness data, the way you use technology. At the end of the day, though, the fundamental principles of talent, motivation, people that care, do the right thing, come up with creative solutions, and excellence, that hasn't changed at all. I don't think that's changed for any high-quality organization, just like the organization you've built. At the end of the day, we are a people business, notwithstanding the breadth and power of Carlyle and the influence and the capital we deploy. And, you know, when he and I talk, and he's very humble, but he stepped into his role in basically a complicated time. We were thrilled to sign on. Part of the agreement was that he had to turn the whole season around, which he immediately did. For those of you who are not F1 fans and Oracle Red Bull Racing fans, just curious, how many people are Oracle Red Bull Racing F1 fans? Yeah, so he's very humble, but we told him, look, we're all in, you just have to win. And he basically just started winning. And so
it was week one. Week one is the job.
Yeah, week one.
No pressure.
Week one, we just put that as part of sort of a transition. But every week after that. And I will say, as incredible as the sport is, for those of you who are fans, and for those of you who are not fans, you should really get engaged with the sport. It's amazing. I really think the performance of the team and Max took the whole sport to another level this year. And that is the beauty of sport and performance and excellence. But when you're in the garage with the team and you see how they operate and the teamwork that's required. I was at the race in Abu Dhabi, and I don't know, I accidentally violated a policy where I went to take a picture. The data is so, I deleted it. Now there's the Oracle Red Bull team is here, and literally like 3 people tackled me. And I said, really, I don't know, they don't look like they're doing anything that special, but they were. So again, but you know, you can't abandon the old school principles of what drives success.
What does Carlyle get out of this partnership?
Well, again, it fits all the natural aspects of our firm. I will tell you the enthusiasm across the firm in and of itself.
And you literally have your name on a car.
Yeah. But at Carlyle, we could have put our name in a lot of places. The name is very prominently displayed. I would say if you really wanted to get into the micro details, it's the ability to convene all over the world. It's the ability to do things like this. People who maybe have less exposure to Carlyle get to know us a little bit better. But there'll be other things we'll do with this partnership broadly across the Red Bull organization. But again, like all the things we do and the way they approach things, we're not in a rush on those things. It's just about how can we patiently look to build things together that are synergistic. But that was the key to it. It was really about the people and the dialogue and the opportunity set.
Laurent, there's no greater responsibility than anyone can have than to have a young person in their life. I'm very blessed to have 11 nieces and nephews. Experiences matter. In 1988, you went to a Grand Prix. Tell us about that.
Look, they say that half of the children out there, they are car fans. So I was on the right half of it. So I was a car fan. So I was just watching races with my parents, like many of us, and grew up as a fan. And eventually, I always tell Harvey, he's working. I'm not. I'm just being paid to do my hobby. And that's the incredible luck we have in our sport. We try not to forget it. As Harvey said, it's a people business. You get the best people, you win. You don't get the best people, you don't win. What was fascinating when we met is that they have this incredible balance which we are looking for all day and all night long between the how do you marry the data-driven aspect and the human element, and that's what we do all day. And we found out that that's what they were also doing all days, and it is, as Harvey said, it is areas that we take our time to explore together with our common desires for our brands to broaden the access. Red Bull, on top of what Oracle Red Bull Racing is doing, as we are taking Formula One to the streets. As the sport gets more and more global, we are taking Formula One to people that has never seen, will never come to a race or will never even watch a race, but we go into the city center, we run the car, and we get that broader access to the sport to more and more people. And if you fast forward quite a few years and you see where the sport is today, and we are very, very proud of that, and we think it's only the beginning.
Yeah, I went to the F1 race in Vegas with Roy and Jim. Axios has had events at the Grand Prix in Miami and Austin, and already there's just such a ecosystem around an F1 race. So much excitement around it.
Yeah, 15 years ago, we were an aging sport. Average viewer was 40, 50 years old man. We had no idea how we were going to engage with the next generation. The next generation was not getting their driving license. They were showing little interest in cars. We're like, well, as a sport, we are going to have a problem soon. Fast forward 15 years, combinations of factors. In the middle of the pandemic, first global sport to be back to life. When you now go to the city centers and run the car, what you see in front of you is more girls than guys. I say girls because the average age is 16, 17, 18. So we have managed to connect to that next generations. The sport is getting more global every day. We think we are skimming the surface. You may be aware, Apple bought the broadcasting rights for Formula One in the US from this year onwards. Like we thought we were big in the US. Netflix, the social media, the F1 movies, they came and they look at the number and say, if you think you are big in the US, think again. Because the potential is just huge. And for us as a brand and as a team, looking for our fans, it's exactly what you strive for.
And these demographics he's talked about, Mike, they're quite unique. And the other thing, again, and I don't think this is a particularly nuanced thing to say, but I believe in it quite passionately. The more every generation spends more time on social media, connected to their phone, the desire for live events is only going up. So for us to be involved in sports media entertainment as a firm strategically is quite important. But I'll tell you, if you go to a race, and for those of you who haven't gone to a race, it's kind of not intuitive, right? Because the car takes a lap is like average lap is how long?
A minute and a half.
Minute and a half. So the car goes by, and a minute and a half later, the car goes by. But
it's a bit more exciting than that. Huh? It's not.
I was going to get to the fun part, but it's amazing how Formula One has made the sport approachable. It is unbelievable in a way that you don't see in other sports. Even those that on the surface might seem more approachable, they're not. Just the fan community, the way they organize the races, access to the paddock area. It's a really wonderful experience. But again, getting back to live events, there's a lot of complicated stuff going on in the world every day. And for people to be able to show up at a live event, root for their team, root for excellence, and let's face it, this sport is unique in that people like Max, I've had the privilege of spending time with Max. I'm generally pretty calm. When you're with Max a half hour before, it's calming to be with Max a half hour before the race. I said to him, I don't understand. He said, yeah, I've always just been wired this way. Like, I was calmer after spending time with Max in Austin, and then he got in a car and went, I don't know, 225 miles an hour. So it's really, truly a remarkable sport, and they're remarkable people with a remarkable team. And so for us, it's a great privilege.
Another factor in the magic of live events and why we've invested in Axios Live is it's something that people know is real. They're like, oh, I know that journalist. I know that CEO. I know that newsmaker. And we all get asked a lot, is this real? And at a live event, you know it's real. And I think that's going to become even more valuable. Harvey, I'd be a fool not to zoom out and ask you a couple of macro questions.
Oh, that's unfortunate. We're out of time.
While you're here, one differentiator, one edge for the Carlyle Group has always been you're known for your expertise in the intersection of Washington and capital markets. What should we look for this year in that? Axios has written about the fact that New York, DC, Silicon Valley used to be very different. They're all running together.
Well, I think we only have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try and abbreviate this, but I would say big picture, zooming out. And I think this has been happening for a while, but feels more poignant today. But I think it really started right after the financial crisis in 2008. But the trends that I grew up with, so I'm 61, I was born in 64. The trends that I grew up with, virtually all of them are shifting or have shifted. Declining interest rates, geopolitical cooperation, the Berlin Wall came down in '89. These are monstrous factors that have supported economic activity and driven economic activity in a particular way for a very long period of time. And it's obvious to everyone in this room, for a whole host of factors, those issues are all changing. If you want to narrow back into this year and things that obviously will dominate this year, I would make two comments. One, so in these companies that we own, we very systematically, because we have a very, very unique look at data, and we have a lot of historical data on private companies going back to 1987. When we look at this data, actually, the economy looks quite good. EBITDA, cash flow in these companies is growing somewhere between 9 and 12%. And that's reflected in markets. And that's why markets have been performing so well. The noise around policy, technology, geopolitics, I think has created some amplification in risk tails, which is hard to manage. But this year will all be about US midterm elections, policy decisions going into that. How does that translate into the geopolitical fabric, and what opportunities are out there, and what happens with interest rate policy? You know, as we sit here today, Japan bonds are selling off because of some fiscal decisions. That'll have knock-on effects. All these, I think the world will get good news for you, Mike, even more data news sensitive as we approach this year, because the core economic engines are pretty good. So it'll all be very data sensitive, trying to figure out what's next.
What does the rise of global wealth mean for private markets?
Well, first of all, I would say the rise in global incomes is an extraordinarily good thing for all of us. Everybody should root for that. I mean, over again that time period I referenced, billions of people came out of poverty, and I think we should all. I'm a glass half full person. I think we should just root for wealth accumulation at all levels. What does this mean? This means an ability for us to continue to be excellent at what we do for a broadening audience. In some respects, no difference than the way he talked about F1 broadening. And that's been happening for a very long time. There'll be moments that works great, moments it doesn't work as well. But I think if you think about the demographics around the world of retirement, that, those young viewers that he's talking about, as they build for retirement over time, it makes perfect sense that they should have stocks, they should have public bonds, they should probably have private assets if it makes sense, just because they want to get the diversification that the most high performance professional institutions have had since David started working with them in 1987. Why wouldn't you? It's just about how we execute as an industry. We have to do it super thoughtfully and very carefully.
Laurent, you were trained as a mechanical engineer. You became a race engineer, now a leader. We saw this room is nearly 100% fans. So in a fan-facing sense, how do you think of AI for your organization? How is AI going to change F1, your team? What can fans watch for?
Look, we tend to see everything as a competitive advantage potential. So that's what we see with AI. We have our world is algorithm. I know it sounds boring, but as we said, we live in a virtual world of data. Our car is growing in the data world, and every 2 weeks we go to the real world, to the live events, and we get a bit of a reality check. So we live and die with our models. So if you are in a business or in a sport that lives and dies with your model, you can imagine how much of a transformation AI is going to have. Like whoever is going to extract a little bit earlier, a little bit more out of these tools will win all the races. So it's for us, it's a strategic topic which we try to inject in the team at 360 degrees, and we cannot afford to be second in that race.
Last question, and then I'm going to ask you what you learned from each other. Harvey, how are you advising CEOs to think about AI?
Well, I just share with them the way I think about it. So with the Carlyle organization, first and foremost, you have to make a decision. Do you think it's transformational technology? I personally believe we're in the midst of a very early transformational change, whether if you think back in history, the mainframe to the PC, creation of the iPhone, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is a transformational transition. Where exactly it heads, I don't think anybody really knows. Then you have to make a decision as a CEO, what are your applications? And I'm particularly obsessed about use cases. And so there's 3 ways we apply technology at the firm, data science and AI. One is first and foremost, how can we be a better investor? Because at the point we deploy capital for 5, 7, 10 years. That is a singularly unique and important decision, what we buy versus what we don't buy. No different than the way he looks at data and he prepares that car. And then 2, once we own that company, how do we make that company a better company defensively, offensively? How can we enhance the value of that company using technology? And then obviously, how can we run Carlyle better? But that I just share with them my thoughts. And then I will say, I really like talking to our portfolio company CEOs because they have their own experience. They might be working in industrials. They might be in fintech. They might be in healthcare. They might be in aerospace and security. These are all businesses we've been in for nearly 40 years under David's leadership. And so they have their own perspective on it. So I learned from them.
Harvey Inc., a personal use case for you for AI. Do you have a current obsession or hack?
No, I don't know, Mike. No, not really. I'm not really a hack guy. The personal obsession, I don't know. My family in Carlyle kind of occupies a lot of my...
sorry. I meant on AI in particular. Sorry, I didn't say that.
Oh, personal hack on AI.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
No, I don't. I stay pretty open-minded on it. But again, so I don't have like a tidbit that you'd want me to share.
But what do you like to use it for yourself?
Oh, I think actually the summarizing of data, where I very quickly want to see data in a different form. But I will say, use the word AI, that's not AI. That's data science and data aggregation. And so mostly I use it today for data aggregation. We do have one very unique competitive advantage at Carlyle, which is, again, the firm's been in business for 40 years. We have data on so many private companies that's proprietary. That's powerful because that public data is losing value over time because everybody can harness it. This will just allow people to even harness it better. Proprietary data on companies, 30,000, 50,000 companies over 40 years, what drove performance, what didn't, that's super valuable, and that's where we spend a lot of our time.
Laurent, what's something you've learned from Harvey?
It's enough to hear him speaking to understand.
Obviously how I dress, style.
I was about to mention that, but we were out of time. So no. But what I wanted to say was really how Harvey and his team, how do they mix this data obsession and the human aspect? Because it's impossible that you only decide to go from one direction or the others, and that's exactly the same challenges we are facing.
What's something you've learned from Laurent?
Well, it's been fascinating because Laurent took over Oracle Boat Racing at such a critical time. And as a CEO and someone who's worked around CEOs for a long time, and anyone who's a fan here really knows the responsibility he stepped in at a time with extraordinary pressure, with very, very limited time to course correct the team, huge leadership change. I think the thing I've learned is just the way he is, his foundational thinking. Every time you ask him a question, and it's very authentic, he's humble. He talks about the team, how the team came together, but he would never talk about his own contribution. But as someone has observed him, he's an extraordinary leader. And he leads with a certain grace that I think any leader could learn from as a role model.
Love that. At Axios, we always finish with one fun thing. We have so many fans here. I got to ask you, Laurent, a prediction. What is something an F1 fan, a fan of your team, can watch this season?
Podium 1 and 2 repeatedly, as per the contract with Carlyle. Mike.
So there was an asterisk in the contract, so which says, bear with us for the first few weeks and months, because we decided to take a monumental task with this new power unit. We love it. It's going to come with a few sleepless nights. It's going to come with a few headaches, but eventually we'll come out on top.
And for the very last word, so backstage, I was telling Harvey, I said, we finished with one fun thing. It'd be like an extreme sport. And he had a very CEO response. He said, got it. So he left me in suspense. What's your one fun thing?
Oh, well, extreme sport. Well, I've had 7 orthopedic surgeries. So I found getting up here kind of extreme. I find leaving here. I'm like the happiest person. It's not snowing in Davos. No, Davos can be an extreme sport for me. No, look, I mean, other than, it sounds cliche, other than spending time with my 3 grandkids, which I'm super fortunate to have. Putting my brain in a place where it frees my thinking, which then allows for a little more creative space. Obviously, I spend a lot of time watching F1, but I think just finding things, I do meditate every morning, finding things that allow me just to free up my mind, have a lot of gratitude, but it allows me to focus and work better with my team.
Perfect way to drop the mic. We thank the race for this great event. We thank the amazing Axios Live team, which has spent months and months, most of the year, bringing these events to life. Think of all of you for coming, my incredible Axios teammates, and thank Laurent and Harvey for an incredible conversation. Thank you.
Right, thanks, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Really fun.
Laurent, thank you.
Very much.
Yeah, of course, baby.